Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today I'm joined by Adam McKola, formerly of full-time Devils. Hello, the Stratford Paddock. So how you doing today? How you doing today, mate?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad you've caught up with the name change. Not a lot of people have yet, so thank you for getting that right. And thanks for having us on. I've been looking forward to it.
No worries, mate. I've been a fan of you and Steve for quite a while.
Yeah, Steve's all right sometimes. It's not too bad.
Yeah, so obviously you've done a 20-minute video basically explaining why you changed the name. So obviously I don't really have to repeat yourself. So
Yeah, of course.
so if anybody wants to really pick like that, go and watch their video on it.
Yeah, you tell us.
So how did you get into the football media world?
It started by accident, mate. I've obviously always gone to games and stuff like that with my dad, and my brother and my friends and stuff like that over the years. And I seen that obviously there was a channel that was starting, and I got in touch with them. And then we did a little chat on Skype. Well, we're on Zoom now, but similar to what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And then we just started making content together, and gradually my involvement with the channel grew, and somehow just turned into what it is now. So I'm very fortunate, and I was very I don't know, it was just everything seemed to fall into place. Really, I can't really explain it, but that was how I got involved. I've seen something on Facebook and just thought, let's give it a go.
So So the first time you actually did something on camera, I don't think that was with Steve. Steve, was it? That was with that was before Steve.
Yeah, that's right. It was on Skype with Ed Draper and a few other Reds. I think it was Suff at the time, and a Reading fan who I've forgotten his name now, so I do apologise for that. But there was a Reading fan also on the show because it was ahead of a Man United versus Reading game. So yeah, that was it wasn't with Steve at that time. I think Steve got involved about a year later. But I had always, I didn't know at the time, but he obviously ran a website, and I had always seen his work about. I just didn't know it was him. So yeah, he got involved with us about a year later.
Where was you a bit nervous before you went on to that Skype call, or did you feel confident in yourself?
I felt a little bit nervous, because I'd never done anything like that before. I'd always been involved with like blogs and things like that, and forums and things in writing, but actually sitting in front of a camera and talking about football, and that's something that comes natural to me, which helps. I don't need to revise. I don't need to do anything extra. But like just speaking in front of camera and being able to articulate myself and not say and all the time. I had to get used to not doing those things. So that's what I was more nervous about when I did the first one. But gradually, over time, I got used to it. I was able to be myself more. And that's all you can be, really, isn't it?
Yeah, because the reason why I say that is because some people have the confidence straight off, and it takes some people a long time to really build up that confidence.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think people obviously learn at different speeds as well, and they will feel more confident at different speeds. I think nowadays, because a lot of people are always doing these kind of things, even if it's just not for YouTube or not for videos, just doing it, with friends and family. Maybe it's becoming a little bit more easier to do these kind of things. So you see more people maybe, having opportunities to make YouTube channels and things. But that's the thing I think everybody's got to learn, like just to be yourself really, and keep plugging away, because eventually you'll just become yourself more in front of camera, and you'll be more relaxed. It's the same with anything. I suppose the more and more you do something, the better and better you'll become at it. And yeah, I suppose you've got to be confident in yourself, but you won't always be at the start.
It took me a while. It took me a while to realise that, because when I first started, not even doing this, but just speaking like on camera, I was trying to be too much like other people that I watched. So it was
Yeah.
basically like me imitating people, if you know what I mean, like playing a parody, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I get what you said there, because I remember that at the start. Less so when I was in front of camera and just answering, like doing stuff on Skype, but more so when like I do things in front of camera outside stadiums and stuff. I think, oh, I need to be like the people on television, and then it would put me off actually being myself. So yeah, you're spot on there. I think we've got to learn to, yes, pick things up from other people, and I think I've had great inspirations like to look up to and kind of see and pick different things up, but ultimately don't let those come into your thoughts when you're performing, shall we call it, in front of camera, because you can only be yourself. Anything else isn't going to be good enough.
Yes, exactly, mate. I find, obviously, because of my disability, I find it hard to really articulate myself at first, because I do speak with a bit of a stutter. So
Mm.
at first, it was a bit difficult for me to articulate myself on camera, but I'm
Mm.
starting to get the hang of it. Even
I
now,
mean, you're doing well, mate. I think you just need to not think about anything that can prevent you, and just do what you can. And I think you're doing that fantastically well. So yeah, man, just keep plugging away. You're doing mint at the moment.
thank you, I really appreciate that, mate. Like, genuinely, I really appreciate it.
No worries, brother.
So, thank. So I want to get on to Man United, because obviously you're a big Manchester United fan. And on, I think it was on Sunday, you played in the FA Cup.
Yeah,
Again,
I've come to you at the wrong time, haven't I? Really.
honestly, probably one of the worst Man United performances I've seen all season, to be honest.
It was a pretty bad one, especially when you think like we'd been unbeaten in 19 games. We'd won a lot of those games, and then you come to a semi-final at Wembley, a big opportunity, and you perform like that. So it was massively disappointing, and I've got it that I have to speak to you after a defeat and not after one of the victories that we've had recently. But I'm hoping that we've obviously lost that game. It's a big disappointment. I'm hoping we can bounce back and just get back at it, because it wasn't too bad before that at all.
Obviously, I think one of the worst mistakes of the day was David De Gea's.
Yeah,
I don't even know what you want to call it. It's actually a howler.
it was an absolute howler. I, I I love De Gea, and I find it hard to criticize him because of how good he has been for United. But you have to be honest, and you have to say, look, you can't have mistakes like that. You have to, especially for where we want to be going. We want to be moving up the table. We want to be playing in the Champions League. We want to be getting to finals of cup competitions, and you can't have your goalkeeper doing that those times. But I'm hoping, even if he does get dropped or rotated or whatever, I'm hoping he regains his form eventually. I haven't given up on him just yet.
Because to be honest, mate, even I could have said that in my limited moments.
You would have saved it. I would have saved it even. I mean, it especially the second one. I think for the first one, you can kind of understand, Lindelof didn't do too well in marking Giroud. But for the second one, like, it was straight at him. And Mason Mount, to be fair to him, has a shot on him at times. But that wasn't his best effort. And you'd expect De Gea to do. But the strange thing is, there's other times where he makes incredible saves, and you're left thinking, is this the same goalkeeper who just slapped it into his own net? So hopefully he just makes less of those mistakes and more of the great saves.
The one good thing, like the one good thing for you guys is that you got a good you got a good goalkeeper coming through at Sheffield United. So if if Daya doesn't work out, you've got a ready made, well not ready made, but you got a pretty good replacement for him.
Yeah, most definitely. I think Dean Henderson's definitely one for the future. The trouble is, you would have liked to have seen De Gea be in good form at the moment, so that you've got another year or so to give Dean Henderson time at Sheffield. Because I still think he needs another year on loan, playing week in, week out. But the more mistakes De Gea makes, the more questions that are going to be asked about Dean Henderson, because you know he's performing very well at Sheffield United, and he's showing he is the one for the future.
Let's say like Sheffield United are very drilled in the first place, aren't they? So any goalkeeper would look decent in goal for them. Like they're very drilled. Like defensively, they don't seem to make many mistakes.
I think that's true, but I think also Dean Henderson's a big part of that defence. You see him communicating quite well, directing quite well. And I think they do miss him when he's not in goal for them. So I do agree with you that Sheffield, he's probably, they're playing a lot more defensive team. So at United, he's probably going to be less busy, but he's going to be, possibly prone to lapses of concentration. And that's where you've got to, it's like with De Gea, when you keep him busy, he does really well. The minute that you keep him quiet for 70 minutes and then there's a shot to make, he kind of falls asleep. So I think United and Sheffield United are two big, massively different clubs. But I think he's a big part of how good Sheffield United are at the back. And they will miss him when he goes.
So what sort of fan are you? Are you one of these fans that as soon as somebody makes a mistake, get you out the club, or are you very forgiving when it comes to things like that?
I think I've got you see with De Gea, I don't want to criticise him too much because I've got a big loyalty towards him, and I think I have that side of me, which probably, you've probably got to say actually he deserves to be dropped. But I've got that part of me which would be like, play him. He's done us right so many times. So I try and stick with people for as long as possible. It went to my detriment when I stuck with David Moyes for probably a little bit longer than I should have. But I think that's the part of being a supporter. We've got to try and hope for the best and, push people on to achieve more and do better. And hopefully, we get the rewards from that. But yeah, there's at times you've got to be honest and you've got to. I don't think if you criticise someone, you have to overstep a mark, because I think all footballers expect to be criticised. I think it's when you overstep the mark and probably go too far, and that's when it can become a problem. So I try to never do that, I suppose.
Because to be 100% honest here, I'm not really a fan of any team. I just like football as a whole, to be honest. So I like to stay relatively neutral. Like, I'm not a big fan of saying players are shit or players are crap, because I don't think any players are 100% crap. Because if they're playing in the Premier League, they must have some quality about them.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Like we look at players, for example, that let's say that are in the relegation zone, and these players have been the top of their game all of their life. Like they're in the top 1% or whatever it is of footballers, and then they have people like me saying that they're not good enough and things like that. So it is remarkable, but it's just it's a sport ultimately, isn't it? We all discuss who our favourite boxers are, or tennis players and everything like that, and maybe they don't get put under as much scrutiny because football's a really tribal sport as well, isn't it? But it is quite mad that some of these footballers are all of them are the best in the game, really, and they get criticised by people like me.
Like, cause with football in particular, it can be passed down from generation to generation, can't it? Like with boxing, you can't really do that because obviously boxers retire and they get old.
Mm, mm, mm. It's very true.
So, so yeah, obviously you've been there when a lot of fan comes have happened. Have you ever been there with a person where you absolutely 100% disagreed with what they said, but you've had to like bite your lip a little bit?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's not about my opinion, is it? I think the beauty of a fan channel is it's for everybody, regardless of whether whoever's holding the mic agrees with them or not. I think the only thing that I like to say is I don't like fans to be arguing with each other. Like, if just wait your turn to have your opinion. So if people, start arguing, I'll just say, chill out. You have your time. They'll have their time. Obviously, at times, if there's opinions that are really wild, you will actually say, huh? Like, you'll question someone in it or pull someone up on it. But it's not my place to give my opinion at every single time. It's a platform for all fans, and as long as it's respectful, can't complain.
You guys did a good job at editing certain people that I didn't look at, because sometimes certain channels can make people look really bad, whether it's intentional or not, they can. And I think you guys did a good job at editing certain people to make them try and look better.
Um,
Like,
I, we don't edit them as such. I think it's just knowing. Like, I think sometimes like you can say to someone, "Are you sure about that one?" Or if they don't want it to go out, you just pull it. And I think there's things that you just got to be aware that the internet can be a wild place sometimes, and sometimes you have to let people know and to share, just kind of protect them from themselves, really. But yeah, we try not to edit anything or anyone, but we definitely just try and keep it respectful, because that's all you can be ultimately. Because we're all supporters in it, and whether I agree with someone or disagree with them, ultimately we want the same thing as well. And I don't think that should ever be lost.
yeah, that's basically what I was trying to say, but you explained it a lot better than what I did, so thank you very much for.
No, it's all good. I knew what you were on about.
Well, so obviously when you're creating content for the channel, you there's sometimes when I'm watching, let's say like boxing, and I'm doing a boxing video, I end up not enjoying the fight as much because I'm looking at it too too. I'm looking at it too analytically and not enjoying the fight as it
Yeah.
is to get that. You get the same way with football, or not
Um,
really?
not really, because I mean, for most of the games, I'm not making anything anyway. It's usually after games or before games that we make stuff. Um, Obviously now since lockdown, we've been doing watch-alongs and things like that where I've appeared more in them, and I try and just forget that we're even kind of doing them at the end of the day, because you still want to be engaged in the match that's going on, because ultimately that's what we're there to talk about. So yeah, I try not to do much during the game, because I want to be immersed into the game and into the match, especially when you're at the game.
But you have seen in the past that doing channel work can sometimes be a bit tiring because you were planning to stop at one point, wasn't you, before you started the product?
Mm. Yeah, I think that was like down to a lot of things. Like, we didn't have as much hands on the channel, so I was doing a lot more than I probably should have been. But now we've got, a little bit more help, a little bit more of a team. It's a little bit easier for me to be able to do things, so it's a lot more enjoyable. It's less of a slog as well, and it's always better when you're talking about your team winning as well, I suppose, which we have been until this weekend.
But you can't win them all, mate.
Yeah.
even though people would love to win every game, you can't win them all, can you?
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
Unless you like throwing Barcelona or like one of the lighted Real Madrid teams, you can't win them all, can you?
Even Barcelona ain't winning them all these days, and they've still got Messi. So, yeah, well, I suppose we'll have to take it on the chin.
So who was your favourite player at United when you were little? Currently,
When I was little, the first player that I kind of fell in love with is Eric Cantona. But I was a big David Beckham fanboy, like growing up. And nowadays, it's probably like Pogba or Marshall or Rashford, one of those players. I think Pogba's our best player. But I'm a big fan of Martial and Rashford, and I think they've got bright futures ahead of them. And I'm so glad United have stuck by him. There's been various times when, there's been discussions, especially about Martial, whether he's possibly going to leave or not. And I think Ollie was right to stick by both of them, and we're seeing the rewards for it. So those two currently are probably my favourite players. But in the past, Beckham and Cantona were those two that I really looked up to.
a couple of seasons ago, I was thinking Martial should leave because obviously the manager didn't like him at that time. Jose and the fans didn't really like him. Well, a lot of the local fans didn't like him. Obviously, there were some fans that did. But you always hear from the local minority, don't you?
Yeah, I think a lot of fans knew that he was a good player. They just were concerned that he probably wasn't doing it consistently enough. But I always have the opinion that he wasn't really allowed to. And when he was put into the team more often than not, he performed. If you saw just before, like obviously in his first season, he was our top goal scorer under Van Gaal. Mourinho comes in, he doesn't really enjoy a great first season under him. He had personal issues off the pitch. And then he's on like 10 goals, 10 assists for the season. January comes and he's dropped out of the team in favour of Alexis Sanchez. And I just think, there's a lot of other players that would have kind of just disappeared and gone to nothing. He's still stuck at it. He's stayed in at United, signed a new deal, got his head down. And I think we're seeing the benefits of that now. And Ollie's obviously had a big part in that in terms of his man management. So hopefully he can keep improving, because if he does, he'll be a 30-goal-a-season striker. I have no doubt about that.
I think in the next 5 to 10 years, he'll be a Ballon d'Or winner. I really do think that.
Hey, are you Martial FC as well, yeah?
To be honest, mate, I just like good football, and I like being a good footballer. I'm not in any fan club. I'm probably the most neutral footballer, the most neutral football fan you can get.
Nah, listen, you're not getting away with it now. You're in Martial FC, all right. You remember now.
So, anyway, so what was your, when you were growing up, did you actually play football or not really?
I did, yeah. I was obviously never good enough to go pro or anything like that, but I always played at school, primary school, secondary school, college, Saturdays, Sundays, with my friends. So, yeah, I've enjoyed playing football as well, and juggling that with going to games. Like, I've had times where I've been playing matches, have to be subbed off after like 50 minutes because my dad's waiting by the pitch to take us to Old Trafford and things like that. So, yeah, I have played a lot, and I enjoy it. I even, I go out and have a kick about every now and then these days with my mates. And it's just good to be back playing football. Like, you forget how much you miss it when you play again.
For your level, yeah, was you good or was you decent or was you pretty crap?
I think I was good. I was good at school, like in school levels. Obviously, after that, probably not. I'm still half decent, but in school I was pretty good, I think.
So you wasn't one of the deluding people that think that they're amazing and they could go pro when they're only decent.
Maybe after a few drinks I'll say things like that, but not right now at 2:00 in the afternoon and I'm sober.
Yeah, man, because some people are really deluded about their own ability. And
Yeah, I suppose it's because it's everyone's dream, right? So there'll always be some sort of excuse, but it's all good, I suppose.
but after a certain age, you need to start being realistic. Like,
Most definitely.
so obviously this summer's a bit weird because we've got European cups going ahead with the Champions League and the Europa League. So do you think Man United in particular will side playing? Obviously, there's Jadon Sancho rumours, but I can't see how there were side players when they got a tournament going on at the same time.
I think the way it's gonna work is, you know, I think I think we'll possibly agree some deals around then, and maybe they'll just join up after the tournament. Um, but it is going to be very difficult because you're going to have such a short window. So the season ends end of July, the domestic campaign, and then you've got the whole of August is for Europa League, Champions League. Now it depends, if United get top four, then they probably take the Europa League less seriously, and use that time to prepare for next season. I do think we'll get Jadon Sancho. That's something I kind of feel looks like it's going to happen. Even if I was a neutral, I'd kind of think, yeah, Jadon Sancho to Man United makes sense. They're crying out for a right winger. The number 7 shirt's vacant. He wants to come back to England. And Chelsea have spent a lot of money already. They were kind of one of the other teams that were linked with him. Apart from that, you don't really see Liverpool or City making a move. So it's almost United to either get or not get this summer. So I think we might see that one happen, although it could drag on a little bit. But apart from that, it's going to be difficult because, like you say, tournaments going on. There's a shorter gap between seasons. But I'm hoping we can get 1 or 2 players signed up.
Obviously, I do think Sancho will be coming to you guys because it's been rumoured for so long that
Mm.
there must be some truth to it.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. And it's like the reliable people are saying it as well. So hopefully it's true.
I think if he does come to you guys, you have the best attack in the league, to be honest, like quality wise, with obviously the front the front five you would have, like the first 11 will be really good, in my
Mm.
opinion.
Mm, that's the important thing for this summer. Like we know if we get Sancho, our first, our first 11, especially in the attacking areas, is going to be great. But we need to get that quality in depth as well. We saw against Chelsea, like when we make a few changes, we haven't got the quality there to compete. And if we want to challenge for the titles and things like that, I think we need to get that quality and strength in depth.
Because, because my family, I've been a fan. I'm not personally a Villa fan, but my family are. So you're obviously probably going to get Jack Grealish. I think he'll be a good substitute for you guys.
Yeah, and it's not only just being I don't think it'd just be a substitute. I think you play so many games in a season, especially if you go far in competitions, that he'd be able to still get 30 starts in a campaign, 30, 40 starts, make 10, 15 appearances from the bench. And it enables you to rotate and rest people like Bruno, Rashford and people like that. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of competition in a team as well. And I think Jack Grealish is made for a stage like Old Trafford. We saw the goal that he scored there this season for Villa. And I think he's made for that stage. Villa look like they're going to be going down. So I'm hoping there's a bit of business that can be done there with Jack Grealish. But I'm less confident on that because I think there'll be a few teams that are looking at him. And if another team offers him guaranteed first team football where he's playing week in, week out, then I could understand if he took that. But if Jack Grealish is watching this, he needs to come to United.
Believe believe me, mate, he won't be.
He will be, trust me.
Mm. Before you guys were linked to him, yeah, did you rate Jack Grealish or not really, or did you think he was a decent player but nothing special?
Yeah, I thought he had the potential, but he obviously had a few issues with himself off the pitch, and I think possibly just a little bit of youthful naivety and having a good time when he shouldn't have been having a good time and things like that. But I think since he's got his head down, I think he's shown, and Aston Villa aren't a small club. They've got big expectations, and I think he carried those expectations on his back at times, and he's done really well under that pressure. That's why I think he's made for a place like, especially if you come to United where that you're not the main man, so the focal point isn't going to be completely on you. Kind of takes the pressure off you a little bit, and that I think he'd be amazing with that team, playing with the likes of Rashford and Pogba and Bruno and potentially Sancho and Martial and that. I think it'd fit in really well with those kind of players because they're all players that want to improve, want to win things, and have the right mentality. And I think it'd be a good foil for those as well if we want to rest someone, or if you can rotate him or give that competition in the team. So yeah, I'd be all for Jack signing. I've been a fan of his since he broke through, but he just needed to knuckle down and work harder, and he's done that.
I would find him a bit weird because obviously he played with his calves out, doesn't he? So I would find that a bit weird, but he's a good player.
Yeah, he's got that little swag about him, hasn't he? No shin pads or very small shin pads, socks rolled down. A little bit of a throwback. I remember Sebastian Varane used to be like that as well.
If he does come to you guys, do you think they'll have to? Do you think he'll have to start dressing how the other guys dress, like with the big league guys and everything like that? Or do you think
Nah,
it'll be?
I think he'll be himself still. I think he'll be himself. He'll probably get some new boots, but I think he'll definitely be himself. You don't want players to come and change either. If United sign him, they're signing because of the way he is now. You don't want to go changing him at all. And United like Mavericks a little bit.
The one thing I would say, look, you could have to try and behave himself. Because when you're at a small, when you're at a less, because when you're at a United, obviously there's people watching you all the time. Yeah, when you're at Villa, it's not like people don't care, but people are more forgiving when you're at a team like Villa. But when you're at when you're at Man United in particular, people can hold you to higher standards.
Most definitely, and I think if your family is going to kill you, by the way, if I need to call Villa a small club. But I think, yeah, with Jack, like you've seen, remember in lockdown when he had that little crash and things like that. I think, yeah, if he does that as a Man United player, the headlines are international headlines rather than just national headlines. And the pressures that come with playing for Man United are obviously a lot different.
But obviously, I think obviously they would have done that. They would have done their research on him before they scouted him. So maybe they've already had a word with him and said you're gonna have to cut that out if you're gonna come here or whatever. You know what I mean? So maybe.
Yeah, it does look like Ali's doing that. He's doing his research on his signing. You hear about him calling Cristiano Ronaldo about Bruno Fernandes and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's been chucking a few phone calls around to people close to Jack Grealish.
Yeah, because sometimes I think some of the bigger clubs, a lot of these bigger clubs put too much pressure on their players, obviously because of the weight of the shirt. Like I can't imagine playing for Real Madrid and Barcelona because their fans are so spoiled at times, and I don't think they fully appreciate the quality of some of these players.
If you look at Ronaldo as well, I think Real Madrid fans they should have really idolised him. And you look at the way United fans took to him. Even like Gareth Bale, look at what he's done for Real Madrid and he's vilified at every single turn. I think if Gareth Bale did that for an English club, I know we turn on players as well at times. English people as a whole, not just. I think United, not many players we've turned on, but we do have our instances. I mean, you look at Pogba and things like that. There's been a few things that have happened, but like, yeah, the way they treat some of their players is incredible. It's just the pressures there are crazy. Can't even get away with a sideways pass at Real Madrid without them waving the white hanky.
That's why I find it a bit dumbfounding why so many players want to go there. Obviously for the financial implications, but from a fan perspective, I can't understand why players are so drawn up on going to the big clubs.
The prestige as well, though, isn't it? If you play for Barcelona or Real Madrid, you're most likely going to win a league title or a Champions League, but I think they'll still hold that prestige as well.
Yeah, of course. I don't know why I said that actually, because that makes perfect sense. That was a stupid thing to say.
It's not stupid. It's to understand, especially from a fan's perspective, because we're fans, aren't we? So we look at it from our perspective that, like for Ronaldo, for example, when he went from United to Real Madrid, we adored that guy. We sang his name every single chance we could get. And he went to Real Madrid, and maybe they didn't appreciate him as much, but like from a fan's perspective, you're like, damn, Ronnie, you should have stayed. But you know, footballers, I think they have careers, and ultimately, fan opinions, I don't think they affect their objectives in their careers. Almost like, regardless of what Real Madrid fans think, Cristiano Ronaldo still wants to play for them, or still wants to play for them. So yeah, from a fan's perspective, I don't think what you said's wrong. I just think not every footballer, I don't think any footballer really puts a fan's opinion above their own.
Because there's a lot of players that are fan loved, yeah, and they haven't won anything in their careers for the most part. So you can either win trophies or you can have fan respect. So it's all about which one you prefer. So I have a couple more questions, and I'll let you go, mate, because I know you've got another call.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Let's do it.
So, do you know when you met Stephen Harrison in the play, what was your first opinions on him before you actually spoke to him?
I didn't really have one, until I met him. And I just thought, this guy's sound. I didn't expect that I'd be seeing so much of him over the years after that, to be honest with you. And he's a little bit, I can see why some people don't take to him, but he's a good lad deep down.
Obviously, he can be a bit vocal at times. Out of the two of you, I would say you're the more reserved one in your footballing opinion.
I think what you mean by reserved is more sensible there, mate.
Yeah, you're the more sensible one. It's very like. Do you know the guy you meet down the pub?
Say that again?
You know the guy you meet down the pub?
Yeah, sometimes. When I'm in a good mood.
That's what I think, Stevie. Do you remind me of the guy down the pub?
Yeah. Screaming at the telly.
Yeah. So anyway, you started as a Stretford player. So what was your first day as a Stretford player? Like, when you're a bit nervous, when you're ready for it, or was you a bit
excited, really, because it didn't feel like the first day. It just felt like a restart, like back to where it felt like we just turned the clock back a few years and started getting stuck in again. So it was exciting, really, just to get back into the swing of things. I'd had a few months off from Devils as well, so it was good to get back into it, seeing all the lads and doing all that. So it was really enjoyable.
So I'm really bad at remembering people's names, so you're gonna have to help me out here. But you know the, you know the, you know the old, you know the guy, you know the guy that used to be the journalist. Yeah, got
Jay.
Jay. Yeah. So, what was your first opinion of Jay when you met him for the first time?
I met Jay. Jay was actually involved with the channel a long time ago. Like he was one of the first ones on it as well. So I've known Jay a little bit longer than the rest of them, and he's always been a good lad. But for the first few times, we only did things like for Devils over Skype, and then when we started going to games, started meeting him a few more times, and he just became a friend really. So yeah, Jay Sound. He's the one that I've known the longest.
Do you know, cause he's done professional journalism. Before you met him, did you have any preconceived notion that he's going to be one of these corporate types or not really?
When you meet Jay, you never think that in your life. I think he did local things, local journalism, and obviously he did work for like at United Games and interviewing various different people. But he did local news in general, so he's not the kind of journalist you would expect, I suppose.
I have to say, I haven't seen Jay a lot of time, but the time that I've seen him, he's really been good on camera.
He's got a great way with words. It's funny as well sometimes. Don't show him that I said this though.
So, anyway, so do you know he's doing the watch along? Yeah. How much time goes into that? Obviously, like, do you research people in the games? Like, obviously you find out who's playing, but do you, like what I'm saying is, have you ever, can I reword that because it's coming out wrong?
Yeah. Take your time.
What I'm trying to say is, like, you know when you're doing like, you know when you do like your post match stuff, it's a bit hard to remember every single class in the
Yeah.
game. So how do you remember like that?
Me personally, I don't take any notes or anything like that. So I just remember moments in games. The way I usually do it is I'll just remember the starting lineup and I'll discuss everyone's performance. And usually, if you do that, you will speak about everything that you need to speak about. So I will go through that usually in my review. All right, the hair did this, the defense did that, the midfield, the strikers, and then I will give my overall view of the game or decisions or whatever the manager did right or wrong or whatever. And then I'll give a perspective of what that means for the bigger picture. Because sometimes you can isolate the 90 minutes and ultimately that 90 minutes could have been the worst 90 minutes ever. But the bigger picture of it is doesn't really change anything. Or, you know, we're still moving in the right. Let's take the Chelsea game, for example. The 90 minutes was horrible. It was really bad. It's the worst performance I've seen since January from United. But really, if you look at the bigger picture, the players are fatigued. We've still got a lot to do. We've had a good run. It came to an end, yes, but we've still got things to fight for. So let's get back on it. And with our first 11, we know we can do what we need to do. So that's the way I try and do things. I'll go through the 11. I speak about the game, and then I speak about what it means on the whole. But some people will have different ways, and they may make some notes and things like that. But I personally, I don't.
The reason why I say that is because, you know, people like Statman Dave, it comes across like sometimes he had like a supercomputer in his brain, like recording like all sorts of different like styles of play and how many passes somebody did and all sorts of stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think when you're doing things like that, you have to be able to make notes, and you have to be able to, you know, he probably has a team that helps him do those things as well. Different apps, different things like that can help. But then it's the way you present those. So anybody can get the stats. How do you present them? And I think that's what he does quite well, is
that
how he presents them, and how he presents them to you. So I think a lot of work goes into it behind the scenes. as well. I think when it just comes out, it looks like everything's up there, and maybe not all the time that it is.
I don't, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves personally, because as you say, it would take a lot of work to do all of that stuff and to present it in the right way. So I don't think he gets the credit he deserves, to be honest.
No, yeah, he does a very good job, and I think you're right in that regard. But at the same time, he's doing well, so I suppose that's a positive, isn't it?
Is he still working with MUTV, or has he moved on from that, from what you know?
I haven't seen anything of recent, but obviously it's a lockdown, so it's a weird time, isn't it? But I would assume he is. I've seen Sam at Wembley. He's still doing his stuff.
Yeah, it's nice when people move on from you and they're still doing well, because a lot of people can be bitter about things like that. But it's nice to see people doing well, isn't it? Even when
Mm-hmm.
they move on from you. So my last question is, how would you like to be remembered, either as a creator or from your family, or whatever you want to say?
That's a good question, just as me, really. That's all it can be, isn't it?
To be
But
honest,
it's a good question. I've never really thought about that one. It's a bit of a deep one. But yeah, just me is
to
the
be
best
honest,
way I can answer that.
to be honest, that's a bit of a shit answer.
It's a bit of a cop out, isn't it? A bit of a cop out. Let me try and answer it. Let me see. Well, just as a football fan or a United fan that somehow turned a dream into his job, I suppose. And if I
Yeah,
can do it, anybody can.
yeah,
Seriously.
yeah. That's an acceptable answer.
We got there in the end.
I'm ready to play, mate. Thank you for coming on.
Nah, thank you for having me, man. I've been looking forward to this. And all I can say is keep smashing it, because you're doing a good job. I've seen all your other interviews. Keep pushing on. And let me know when it's out, and I'll share this and everything, and make sure people subscribe to your channel.
It'll probably be out in the next one. In the next 5 minutes, to be honest, because I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to edit it or do anything like that, because I think it was a nice flowing conversation. So it'll be out.
This is what happens when two professionals get together, mate. One take is all you need.
Yeah. So don't you want to promote your social media stuff, even though?
Subscribe and follow Adam McKola on all the socials and YouTube, but make sure you're subscribing to this channel, because this is where it's at, and get supporting all the content and sharing it as well.
Okay, thank you for coming on, mate. So thank you for watching, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and speak to you later.